The good news is, Alex, I love to see how the left, this intellectually febrile group of people, are losing their minds, and they don't know why. They're like this attack dog that just keeps barking and yipping and yelping, and they don't know why. And with Ruth Bader Ginsburg next, I mean, we're going to be talking about now a 6-3 court. I mean, will Joy?
But that's what America needs to counter the bizarre communist Chinese-funded attack on America. I think even American elites realize the country's going to go down if we don't stabilize it. And the left has become this poisonous, crazy thing. And I think there's a real countervailing wind against that.
Look, Alex, one of the things that people forget is that these judges, these federal judges, may have very, very serious belief systems and the like, but they are federally trained. They tend to be very, very scholarly. And that's why, with all due respect, love Judge Knapp and think he's terrific on TV. He will never be a Supreme Court justice under any circumstance, nor should he be, because you need somebody, very frankly, wonkish and immersed in this. Because what people forget is that the majority of the stuff on their docket is hardcore, boring. I mean, minutia. Fisheries Act and going back and whether the doctrine of preemptive the doctrine applies to such and such. I mean, it's not what people think. But here's the interesting part about this.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
Well, we've got breaking news from Fox News in Town Hall. Mass shooting in a newsroom, in Maryland newsroom. Fox News is reporting that there are multiple fatalities, and arrest might have been made at the sheriff of Anna County spoke to Shep Smith. We'll keep you updated, and we'll have more of that as it unfolds. Here's a clip from Fox News breaking it down. It's at the Capital Gazette newspaper. Here it is.
We get a better idea of kind of what the response is for this. And we've seen a lot of these, Shep, whether it's a hospital or a newspaper or a school, you can get an idea of what's happening inside the building by what's happening outside. Are they in barricaded positions? You can see at the top right hand of your screen, there seems to be some officers kind of gathered there. Well, you saw there, we don't have control of the helicopter pictures, but there seem to be some officers or first responders, medical personnel that are outside the building, kind of openly walking around, which is a sign that they don't believe, or at least history tells us it's a sign that they no longer believe that an active shooter poses an imminent threat to those who are outside the building, which is, in a case like this, a smidgen of good news in what looks to be a very dark day in Annapolis, Maryland. Shep, we're going to gather some more information on what
folks,
we believe
it's the Capital Gazette newspaper
in and outside the building. Once
reportedly multiple people shot. We'll watch that. But notice when there's hundreds of car deaths a day, no news. Hundreds of stabbings, no news. They just hype shootings. We hope it isn't a giant shooting. We're sad for whoever's been shot. But those are the type of things that happen in any society where you got 330 million people. Active shooter at 888. Best Gate, please help us. That's the type of news coming out. It's a bunch of incoherent gibbering at this point. So we'll continue to follow all that. But quite a historic point we're at right now. Lionel of Lionel Media joins us. He's taken over the broadcast. A great syndicated talk show host in his own right. We'll obviously probably cover this as we learn more about it. But what do you make of the Supreme Court situation? What do you make of what happened in Congress today with those incredible hearings and Rosenstein saying that he knows nothing and I think perjuring himself from what we already know on the record? This is just an amazing time. What would you, Lionel, call this time we're alive in right now?
Well, very fascinating times. First, in terms of the actual makeup, this will absolutely guarantee, the first rule is, a conservative majority. Next rule is, that doesn't make any difference. Look, Alex, one of the things that people forget is that these judges, these federal judges, may have very, very serious belief systems and the like, but they are federally trained. They tend to be very, very scholarly. And that's why, with all due respect, love Judge Knapp and think he's terrific on TV. He will never be a Supreme Court justice under any circumstance, nor should he be, because you need somebody, very frankly, wonkish and immersed in this. Because what people forget is that the majority of the stuff on their docket is hardcore boring. I mean minutia. Fisheries Act and going back and whether the doctrine of preemptive the doctrine applies to such and such. I mean, it's not what people think. But here's the interesting part about this. You know, Alex, when these judges and justices put that robe on, something happens. And historically, we have learned when Byron Whizzer White, under John Kennedy, he thought he's obviously one of us, a liberal, progressive. As soon as he put this on, and he basically said, so they can't fire me, he became one of the most conservative justices ever. Then Harry Blackmun. Harry Blackmun was appointed by Nixon. He penned Roe against Wade. And the granddaddy of them all that everybody knows about is Earl Warren. And in fact, Eisenhower called it the worst damn mistake I've ever made in my life. So once this happens, their personalities change. Also, Scalia is not what you think. He did so many cases and so many opinions, and nobody ever read. Nobody went back and poured through them. Whenever they do this, whenever they deny cert, when they basically say, let the lower court handle it, it's basically saying we're not going to do anything. So all I want people to do is don't lose your minds. But the good news is, Alex, I love to see how the left, this intellectually febrile group of people are losing their minds, and they don't know why. They're like this attack dog that just keeps barking and yipping and yelping, and they don't know why. And with Ruth Bader Ginsburg next, I mean, we're going to be talking about now a 6-3 court. I mean, will Joy
But that's what America needs to counter the bizarre communist Chinese-funded attack on America. I think even American elites realize the country's going to go down if we don't stabilize it. And the left has become this poisonous, crazy thing. And I think there's a real countervailing wind against that.
Absolutely. And I also think something, too. Let's talk about abortion for just a moment. You know, abortion is not going to change. It is just not going to change. You're not going to see it go away. You're not going to see Roe against Wade appealed, or excuse me, reversed, or
no, it's just going to go back to the states.
Well, what's going to happen is you're going to see stare decisis, which is a wonderful doctrine. But one of the things that people forget is that you've got a very, very deep state on the deep bench. And there are too many people, I'm sorry to say, this may be a bit dark, but there are too many people who are Malthusian, too many depopulators who aren't going to allow this form of eugenics and, frankly, genocide to go by the wayside. This is too critical. Nobody's going to get in the way of this. And they're going to talk about, giving in to the will of the people, but nobody wants, and I hate to say it, but this critical means of liquidating basically humanity. If you think that's going to happen, it ain't going to happen at all. But you're also going to see basically tests on it, and you're going to see it chipped away perhaps. But that is there. What's going to be interesting, Alex, and this is the most important, is we need a justice, who is able to understand what the rigors of today's technology are going to mean in terms of artificial intelligence. The fact that we are absenting ourselves.
That's right. While they're busy worried about humans, we have all the technology and these bigger challenges. Are they too old to understand that? You're absolutely right. That's really the critical issue here is the globalists don't even care what judges and people do now because they believe they've already leapfrogged so past far that the real folks, even if they're pro-human, need to understand they need to project what they're doing in their rulings onto that situation, which needs to be always pro-human, always about review, and against big mega corporations and monopolies. And the biggest thing the Supreme Court can do is bust up these big monopolies and break these things up. Because if they don't do that, everything else goes out the window.
You've also got transhumanism is going to take on an incredibly important aspect of this. Think about this. Alex, one of the worst things that ever happened, well, in the development of war, was the longbow. Once people became or enjoyed the ability to shoot and to kill from far away, it dehumanized warfare. When you put
You're right. So the Welsh longbow, and then now we have the Predator drone, and then next we have the bioweapon.
Precisely. And when you absent yourself from human interaction, from the notion of conscience, it is devastating.
That's where victory comes from, the two fingers, because the Normans would cut those off. It's like, no, I have these, you're going to die.
plucking the U. Remember, with the finger plucking the U,
Yes,
so you pull back the...
We'll be back.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
Donald Trump.
I wrote you, but you still ain't calling. I left my cell, my pager, and my home phone at the bottom. I sent 2 letters back in autumn. You must not have got them. There probably was a problem at the post office or something. Sometimes I scribble addresses too sloppy when I jot them. But anyways, what's up, man? How's your daughter? I know you probably hear this every day, but I'm your biggest fan. Anyways, I hope you get this, man. Hit me back, just a chat. Truly yours.
I can't stand that motherfucker, and I feel like he's not paying attention to me.
Okay.
And I was kind of waiting for him to say something.
Like his Twitter fingers, yeah.
Yeah, and for some reason, he didn't say anything.
Living in Volcano may sound more dramatic than it really is. The real drama can be found here in Leilani Estates. But a lot of us on the Big Island rely on rainwater, and we need to be concerned about ash and acid rain. Volcanic ash may contain heavy metal particles, and acid rain could lower the pH of the water to unhealthy levels. To find out, we employed a series of tests for heavy metals, alkalinity, and pH. What we learned was that there was in fact unhealthy levels of heavy metals and acidity in the rainwater. Next, we tested the water from our Alexa Pure gravity filter. And not only were the heavy metal levels within safe measure, but the pH was also restored to optimal levels. As it turns out, the filter on the Alexa Pure raises the pH of the water. So what we've learned is that volcanic ash and acid rain can contaminate a rainwater supply. But more importantly, a good water filtration system will purify it.